And good evening, everybody. FLL Explore Coaches. This is helping me host this is Jay Church. I think you all know very well. And Johanna Taylor, key member of Badger Bots, who has a lot of Explore or FLL Junior experience in her background. And again, I'm Craig Peterman. For those of you that don't know me, Badger Bots is the program delivery organization, and I'm the PDP program delivery partner for FLL, both Challenge and Explore. And to be perfectly honest, if and I'll be upfront here, if you guys are looking for answers for the coming season, you're going to be very disappointed. On the other hand, if you want to give feedback on how we are going to structure the Explore season, this is the opportunity. Just because of a lot of issues that we had last year, we weren't able to put together a structure for the state. We're starting this year, obviously, earlier, so that hopefully we can do something with the Explore program, certainly more than what it was last year. So, really, I hope this just turns out to be kind of an open-ended conversation. I have basically three big questions, which is, what does a successful Explore season look like from a expo presentation status? How can Badger Bots, we as the PDO, help facilitate that? And then the other question is, when is the Explore season, or when is it? Could it be most effective? Keep in mind we're figuring out the Challenge season, and then the FTC season, and then the FRC season, and we got overlapping volunteers at various points in time. And I'm seeing some familiar faces and names here. So you guys have Challenge teams, you have Explore teams. What works? That's what I hope to at least discuss and get a framework for the upcoming season. All right, so for that as introduction, any questions, comments, or, should we start with the first question, which is what does a successful Explore season look like?
Well, I mean, in the context of Elmbrook, at least on the north side, we have 5 teams. Success for us is that all the kids that started finish the program. Our season runs
Recording in progress.
Our season is about 9 weeks long. It might go to 10 weeks. We do not follow the book as structured in Explore. A lot of our kids have been in the program for several years. My own were in Explore for up to 4 years. I think Jonathan was in 5 years. It was too much, but we couldn't put them in Challenge yet. So the key for the older kids is that they become independent with the coding. They get better at presenting. And they do more of the research on their own. A lot of my kids that went through Explore and went through Challenge ended up learning a lot about presentation skills as part of the Explore. So even during COVID season and the season after and the season since, it was 3 seasons, I still ran expos. They weren't expos, but they were presentation out type things for the kids that were part of the program. So even if it's a Zoom meeting, we did that the COVID year. The second year, we did it at the Brookfield Library. And then last year, I got space at Pilgrim Park. And I was able to sponsor our 5 teams and 3 from St. John Vianney, because they were running at the same time as I was at Pilgrim Park. So whether Badger Bots sponsor something or not, there will be an activity in the Brookfield area in the fall. There just will be. It could be just my teams. If St. John Vianney keeps on doing their thing, maybe they would come with. But last year in the space that we had, our capacity was 10 teams. So we just didn't have a way to reach out to those teams that may have been running in the fall to let them know that there was an expo coming. But our expo runs, or expo scrimmage, whatever you want to call it, runs middle of November, and we try to get it either just before or just after the Marquette Regional, depending on what kind of other school activities are going on. So that's how we do it.
Would there be an advantage to having it at the Marquette Challenge tournament? Would that be?
I think it depends. So Kim and I, Kim, I, and Nicole all have kids on challenge teams, and we all compete at Marquette weekend. So if we were to do that, we would likely structure the Marquette Saturday to be the challenge day and the Marquette Sunday to be the Explore day.
Okay.
And then just warning, if you do that, we also volunteer at Marquette. So
yeah, you
would still cut into your volunteer, but we can just send Barry to that one, Jay. It's fine. But she's like, no. But I think there's opportunity there if there's space at Marquette. But my experience at Marquette is that it's pretty packed.
Okay.
I don't know if other people have, definitely not at McGuanago. That was too many people in too small of a space for challenge, and I don't know how they would accommodate and explore. Maybe at Riverside.
Which one in McGuanago are you referring to?
Sectionals.
You thought
at the middle school. Yeah.
Oh, because it was the middle school. Yeah.
Right. But it depends on how many kids you want to pack in that area, because even at the LOL one in the spring,
yep.
Which we went to and I volunteer at as well. They have like a full up gym, like a full size gym, and they used to pack 20 teams in there, and it was packed, but it kind of worked. It depends on how big you want this expo to be.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think the McGuanago sectional would have been able to accommodate 20 FLL Explorer teams, because remember, you have the Explorer booths and the activities area in the same space. Yep. So I think they do that intentionally. So okay. There's just not a lot of space for all those kids to run around in. I think it get kind of messy.
Okay. Yeah. So
Julie just joined, and she runs the LOL one. So.
Oh, right. Hi, Julie.
If you'd like, I could share my experience with the Lakeshore one we put on at LTC.
Yep, please.
Basically, we run the full weekend in challenges upstairs at the Lakeshore Technical College, and the, I keep calling it the junior program. The expos are downstairs, and we ran 31 teams last year in the basement. And the cool part about what we do is we have a full FRC playing field in the basement as well, and tech challenge. So the kids have activities to do while we're also trying to judge. And I cut it into sections, like by like a 4-hour time slot. And they each know their time slot. And we do have issues as well where volunteer shortages, we have where the siblings are in a challenge, and we do our best to accommodate. If we find out somebody's on Saturday, we swap them with somebody, but a lot of times our people know when they're going. But we've found it to be a really good experience for the kids. They're all having fun, and seem to be packed. We do have those parents that say it's a little too much and too long, but it's far more people wanting to go and, sorry about that. So, I mean, from my experience, we are also the second week in November, and I also volunteer for FTC. I'm a coach, and FRC, I'm a coach. And we get a lot of the junior parents wanting to do stuff off season. So we have discussed doing 2 seasons as well, but I'm like, we have to clone me first or find more people. Right. You can only do so much, but and I do think, I'm trying to find some other alternatives off season as well. Like just Lego builds and things like that. So that's just my 2 cents for it.
Yeah. But your Explore season does seem to be focused in the fall as well.
Correct. I try and encourage them as early in August as I can to start meeting if they know they have a team, so they can start picking out their names. Our kids do t-shirts and stuff like that, so they can hit their ground running, because those books are like 12 weeks long. And when we run ours, it is usually short. And a lot of times they either have to do 2 or they have to just compact it in somehow, or skip, sections of the book. And
yeah. Okay.
And I always encourage them anyway to, use it as a guide, but they don't have to stick to it. I find I don't want to you know what I mean? Kill the creativity. And then you go to an expo and they all look the same. That would just drive me crazy. So, I mean, we let them go nuts. I'm like, if you want to build two side by side, go ahead, and.
Right. So in your tournament weekend, do you have other Explore teams from the state come, or are they all related to the Lakeshore program?
Sorry, my dogs are going crazy. We do Brown. So I have like 31 teams. We did have like 5 from Sheboygan and a couple from Brown County. I know Brown County is going to be trying to do their own this year. So that should alleviate some space as well on my end.
Yeah.
So we might be able to invite more people if more want to come as well.
Right. Okay. All right.
We've been talking about running, if I can get enough volunteers, like separate rooms to, a lot more at the same time. We get a lot of people that want Saturdays, and I struggle to get the Sunday people, but we usually make it work. But I don't know if anybody else runs into that as well.
And you have Explore on both Saturday and Sunday.
Correct. I run a morning session and an afternoon session, both Saturday and Sunday.
Oh.
And usually about 9 teams per session, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually ran ours during the week after the school day. I don't know that it was the best placement, but it seemed to work for our families. And we actually had the FTC and FRC kids volunteer to judge at ours. Likely illegal, but at the same time, it actually worked out super well. They got their volunteer hours in. And the smaller kids actually seemed to respond better to the FTC and FRC kids than they did for, the adult judges, in my experience. So I almost wonder if for the Explore kids, and I remember having to go through the expo paperwork and see what the requirements were, but I think that they're allowed. Maybe they're not allowed to judge in an official event, but I don't know. It worked out well for me. I know that, Julie, you always have like adult judges at your LOL tournament, right?
Yeah, we always have adult judges. Our tournament got really big pre-COVID, too big, like 36 teams in one Saturday, which was way too many. So we wanted to scale it back, but then post-COVID, just life. So our last tournament was pretty small. I talked to the people involved. They would still like us to continue to have a spring tournament. Thinking about teams, it's just really hard for all of us who are involved in either FTC or FRC or FLL to also run the Explore. I always think junior, but so we're like, we would really still like to host in the spring. We're thinking we just need to get that information out there way early so that teams know that there will be a spring option. Ideally, we would host 18 teams to 24 would be like our max. The 30 some was too many. But yes, we do have adult judges, reviewers. And then I'm sorry, I logged in late. I was having connectivity issues. But the way we run ours is the kids are only in the reviewing room for like 20 minutes, but then we just have tons of crafts and activities and games for them while the other teams are going through judging rooms. And we never have more than 6 sessions of judging. So we have as many rooms as needed to make that happen.
I was just going to quick add something that's been working really well for us is to have a quiet room as well for the kids who may be on the spectrum or just need that quiet moment. We have found, that has really been beneficial and had parents come up and thank us because there's otherwise nowhere to really take them away from the noise.
Right. Yeah. We got that suggestion last season, kind of midway through, and started implementing that at challenge tournaments. In fact, we added a maternity nursing room in at the championship as well. And we got compliments. It got used, so terrific. Yeah, great suggestion.
Well, and on the mentor thing, I was just going to add, we did use alumni as well. And I have used some high school students out of desperation from time to time, but I usually pair them with an adult. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we use a lot of high school students as we've used them as MCs. We use them in multiple roles. They have sometimes served in the reviewing rooms, but always paired with an adult.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask a question because I'm completely not familiar with the program at all. I mean, I understand it exists and I've seen it. When is the last time we've had official events? Actually, first official events for.
Well, Julie's is always official.
Okay.
Mine is unofficial because there was none that we didn't even realize Lakeshore could even have possibly been an option for us.
That's what.
But there was no, there was this connectivity now is going to be helpful because then we can actually put stuff on the schedule, or at least say in this month, these are the expos. And I know that, a lot of the feedback last year was a lot from the Explore parents that just work with me at work was, I don't know when it is. And I just kept on sending them to Julie, and sometimes it worked out and sometimes there were spring break conflicts, but, unless there's like, along with the challenge email, there's an Explore section of it that says, hey, by the way, there's Explore things here. And then it becomes like a super email, or you make one just for Explore, which I thought there was an Explore email in the Wayback Machine, like a really long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, that there now is. We have the FLL challenge email that you're all, or at least most of you, are familiar with. But I was able to download all the Explore coaches emails, and so now we can differentiate if we need to. I'm learning too, so I found that little nugget.
Right, and I think from our end, like our event was pretty well known and people could count on it. And then again, COVID. And so the wheels of the bus kind of came off and then everything was being thrown together. And so I think teams that had counted on our expo, like they weren't sure if it was going to happen because we weren't sure if it was going to happen.
Right.
So our lesson is like, we want to get that date on the calendar before school starts, even though it's a spring date.
Yep. Well, which is actually part of, hopefully we can have a path forward after this meeting. The sooner we can get a calendar together, because we're starting the challenge calendar and I've got Lakeshore dates already requested the weekend before hunting season. So the sooner we can get all the other events on the calendar, we can start disseminating it and people can start planning. And again, this is where we just kind of dropped the ball last season. So trying to make that adjustment for this upcoming one. So, I mean, Julie, we're going to count on yours. We got the Lakeshore one. Jen, Jen, what's the capacity in yours?
I would just have to find a bigger space. But I should say there are actually at least 3, and I'm not sure if others on the call have others, but last year there must have been a Lakeshore one. There was mine. And then Jeff had his at Franklin?
Yep.
In the library, which we actually talked about ours together because we were trying to figure out how to do it. And he did it similar because we're all using Julie's as an example because that's the only example we have. So she actually has all those activities. So he tried to put together some activities. I tried to have some kind of activity, that kind of thing. So at least, and I didn't know about the Lakeshore. There used to be one on the south side of, I think it was in New Berlin too, but I don't know that they have teams anymore.
Yeah.
There used to be one at Heritage Christian.
That's it. Yeah.
And I don't think that exists anymore. And then Jen, like, I feel like you and I need to connect more because we're pulling like from the same volunteer pool a lot because I'm involved in the robotics program in Elmbrook because that's where I work. So
yeah, whatever works. I think whatever we can do to make this easier on all of us. Because I mean, Explore is hard for Explore coaches until you get to Challenge, and then Challenge is hard for Challenge folks until you get to FTC and FRC, evidently. So
Right.
the complication gets just worse.
We have Amy Hardy she has her hand up.
Yeah, hi. Wave Robotics hosts an FLL Explore Expo in Oshkosh as well every December. It's usually in mid-December. We don't run it through the first dashboard. There isn't a judged component, but there is presentations by the teams.
Well, just to, I guess, clarify the judging component, we're not really judging, scoring. It's just reviewers is what, First calls them, asking questions, getting the kids to articulate their project and answer questions. So,
And we do that. We just don't do it in a room. We do it. We have each team sort of has their own. It's sort of like a pit table, but they're all at the front of the room. And then we have like a microphone, and we go around and we speak to each group of students at a time. And then the whole audience can see every group's presentation.
oh,
Does that get loud?
No, it doesn't actually. And we
Okay.
typically have about a dozen teams participate. We will expand it to fit any team in the area that wants to attend.
just out of curiosity, what would your comfortable capacity be?
We recently have a brand new workshop in the local high school, so we could probably host up to 20 teams now. In the past, we had to limit it just because of the school that we were in. We're in a much better position to make it larger. And we also have components where there's games and activities. There's also peer students. The students get to recommend another team for peer awards that they create. There's like a time where they actually get to design the award and then present it to another team. So it's pretty interactive to get the teams to socialize amongst each other.
Okay.
Yeah, I think from a BadgerBot support model, I think that the part that was the most difficult for me was to figure out what to do for not the paper awards, because I could print that out on cardstock and just write it in with Sharpie. But it was more just like the dog tags. I mean, I just needed something to give to the students. So every year they've gotten something a little different because there just wasn't anything available. And I can say that the Explore kids really like the dog tags. At least my Explore kids love the medal. I mean, yeah, they loved it. They loved it. And so, I mean, I think that from a support perspective, even if I could just get however much they cost, as many dog tags as I needed, we funded ours through, we basically funded ours through a $250 grant from one of our coaches' husband's company. And then we just fit it within the budget and did whatever we could for that amount of money. It definitely wasn't to the scale of Julie's, is my reference point, or the Heritage, because it was like a big blown out affair with food and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of that stuff, but we were in and out within 2 hours. Everybody got to present. We were on cheap robotics labor. And we made little pins that said volunteers because we didn't have shirts to give out to the volunteers, and badges and stuff like that. But it turned out like homey but cute, and they don't know anything different because a lot of these kids haven't seen a big expo, because they're all the ones who have already moved on to Challenge.
Right.
I was gonna say for ours, we do have a little trophy we do with the little t-shirts, like the Lego kids. We just use the real little ones, and we put our awards on those for each team. And then we also do a medallion that hangs on a ribbon that looks like an Olympic size. Arrow's work is nice enough to cut those out for us, but the look on their face is so excited. And every year I try and figure out the best way to do it, because they only get one trophy and they still fight over it, even with the medallions. But
If you fab company, they'll do that. It costs
How much are the dog tags, Craig, from a budgetary perspective?
The ones that I ordered for Explore, which were kind of a spur of the moment type thing when Julie reached out, were $4 a piece, I think.
Okay.
But when we ordered them in mass for the challenge program, we ordered, I think, I don't know, 2,000 dog tags, bronze, gold, silver. It was cheaper than that, but
Okay.
the ones for the Explorer I ordered 200.
Okay.
So $4 a piece. That was $800.
Got it.
And in fact, I have some extras, which I would love to get rid of.
I still have to get the rest of those over to the St. John Vianney teams, but all my kids got them. They enjoyed them.
Okay. Did they like them?
They did. I'm telling you, those medals are.
Can we get them this way Friday?
What's that?
I think Peggy wants a shipment by Friday.
How many do you need?
I have 3 teams going, 11 kids. If I can get them by Friday, they would love them.
Shoot me an email. First come, first serve.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the dog tags are really big. I do think the volunteer shirts are nice because people who, all the people attending like know who to go to if
Right.
they're seeing a volunteer shirt. And they can be the same shirt year after year. Like we don't have to customize it to the theme, be the same shirt, same color. Some of us can reuse them, but it does help, I think, for parents and visitors, like then they know who to go to ask questions.
We do green polos for all of our judges so that they pop, and we just have the little emblem that we got engraved on there or whatever, but we reuse them every year. I've gotten, every year I order a few more in different sizes, so we're pretty good, but we do the same thing.
I've been pretty lucky. Like everyone we've had as reviewers has judged at FLL level or FTC level, and so they all have their judges polos. But then like all of the activity volunteers, all of the whatever, wear the t-shirts.
Right. So the t-shirts that we've traditionally ordered do have the theme on it for that particular year. Back when t-shirt costs were less, we had multiple colors on it, but they were all, bright yellow, bright green, bright red. Yeah. So my guess is we'll continue to do that for this upcoming season, but we didn't really consider Explore with the numbers that we ordered. Now it just was fortunate that we had plenty left over, and Julie, you didn't have that many volunteers that we had to, scrounge for shirts. So it worked out great. But I hope we have the problem that we have to order more shirts for more volunteers, more events, and make it a little bit more, legit. I don't know what the word is, but you know what I'm trying to say. Have the dog tags, have the shirts, have the polos, treat it like it was a FLL challenge type event, because guess what? That's where they're going next. At least we hope. We hope they are. Get them prepared.
I wonder if there's not a way for the two programs to kind of come together when it comes to making a shirt logo. So the shirts can be, Explorer can still be represented. They're not necessarily wearing the challenge shirts, but maybe have the logos kind of integrated together somehow, or that way you can batch print both programs at once. Same with the dog tags. If we can get the dog tags put in on the initial order, the smaller order can probably benefit from the price breaks of the larger quantity.
Absolutely.
Isn't the solution just to put the masterpiece, just the logo with no clarifier, unless you just have First Lego League with no Explore, no challenge, nothing else?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't remember. Do the shirts even have challenge on it? I don't think they do. What they do have, though, are the challenge tournament dates on the back. So my thought was, if we can get a calendar of expos, we can fit that on the back as well.
Yeah, put them all in the same shirt.
And then it's all just one shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this might be the first year where they have the same name for the younger and older students. In the past, they've had slightly different names for each season.
Well, last year was the same. It was super powered for both.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's right, because for City Shapers, it was City Shapers and Boomtown Build.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
maybe replay the COVID year might have been the same. No, the other one was, I think, was Playmakers. So I think she's right. I think it's only been 2 years where they've kept the same name for both, which could provide some cost savings. I don't know if it would completely cost save if you wanted to have different medals for sectionals and state. There is no sectionals in state for Explore, but maybe if all the regional medals did not have regional on it. I don't know. But the shirts for sure could be easy. You just
yeah,
don't want
I mean, I don't mind ordering a separate dog tag that says Explore on it. I think that's kind of cool. So yeah, so for the challenge, you know, the regionals, the dog tags were bronze. For the sectional, it was silver, and then the championship was gold. So for Explorer, I just went straight to gold. You know, whatever. That's it. So no, I don't mind having a separate one for Explorer on the dog tags. I think that's kind of cool.
Would they ever consider doing like an, I don't want to say an expo, but like at Worlds, you go and there is a room full of expos and people just volunteer to put their junior explorers on display. Would the state ever consider doing that? You know, the only reason I ask is because sooner would be better to know so they don't tear their displays down if it's something they could do or want to do.
You mean at the state championship?
Yeah, like for the FLL tournament, would they possibly think of maybe if there's space to put a room where the kids could just display their, you know, and stand by it like they would at Worlds for like 2 hours?
Well, I'll let Jen talk about Worlds in a second, but for the state, we actually considered doing an expo at the Challenge Championship. We just had so many other things going on that it was just one more event that we couldn't pull together in time. But Jen, if you want to, did you see Explore at Worlds?
Yeah, they were there. It was wild. But they each had their own little space, same as you would at a typical expo. And I believe they also had judging rooms for those kids at the Worlds. They must have, because they all got awards for something. So how else would they have known what they should have gotten? I don't know, Anna, if you've had a different experience, but just to get some of these littler kids to present once is a challenge. I don't know if I could get the little ones to present a second time. Maybe just to display their stuff.
That was more what I was thinking.
When we were
Like questions and answers, more just, hey, if you want to take this and go talk to any little kids that walk by and want to know about your, program. Just as another, I don't think I'm with you. I don't think it's a lot of them. I do get those super teams every now and then that are like, hey, what can we do now? Not many, but.
When we were at Worlds, I don't remember that it was junior then, but I don't remember that they presented, but they did have an area where, and it was lottery, that teams were chosen, but they got to display, and it was for a short amount of time. It is kind of a cool idea.
Is there opportunity, and maybe this would be a nightmare disaster, full transparencies, but I mean, they've got regional space at the Wisconsin Regional for the big kids. Do they have space to put explorers in the basement? It might be another opportunity if there are a lot of spring teams that are still interested. I still don't understand what the distribution is between fall and spring teams. Fall used to be huge, huge. And spring used to be less huge. Do you have any sense of what the distribution is now?
I have none.
Okay. So maybe, could put together a survey, and I don't mind doing this through Google Forms if it's helpful, but, are you planning to run a challenge or an Explore team this year? Are you planning to run it in spring or fall or alternate? If there was a competition available to you in your area in November, December, February, March, whatever our magic times are, You
Yeah.
know, which one of these do you believe your team would be ready for if you plan to go to an expo? Because for some of these teams, the cost is an issue too. I remember that it used to be 20 to get to an expo. And I think Julie, yours was 40 this year, right?
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so for our 8 teams, we were able to do it for free with grants. And I don't know if there's opportunity for us to pursue grants for specific events. I know that when we were trying to fundraise for Worlds this year, we had looked into a couple of companies that said, hey, we won't fund your team, but come back if you want us to fund an event. And I don't know if they would even consider, you know, it's hard enough to get funding for challenge teams. I don't know if we could get funding for Explore unless, you know, we had some kind of major sponsorship around an Explore event and there were a lot of teams there, right? They want to see their return on investment, but maybe that's an option depending on how much money. I mean, Julie, Julie or Anna, how much are usually your Explore events to run? Because like I said, we did ours on the way cheap. And so did Jeff Singheim. He did his in conjunction with his challenge, so it was less expensive.
I'm really bad at the finances part. I'm really good at spending the money.
That
So I
sounds
don't
very
know.
familiar.
A lot of ours is, we charge more than we typically did, and I don't know that we needed to charge that much, but our STEM Foundation typically picks up the cost of so much of the expo. It's just, again, since COVID, we have not had fundraisers for our STEM Foundation, so that's getting low, so we need to do that again. We're sort of in the, okay, let's get this all back going mode finally.
And I don't know, we actually don't charge for our expo when people come to it. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
Well, we decided to on the very first one because it kind of, you know, even if it's a nominal amount, even if it's $20, it's like, oh, we've paid for this, we should be there. Right.
Yeah, I think there's a certain aspect of planning that helps.
Commitment.
Yeah, commitment.
You know, plus we spend a lot of money on activities and games and prizes. Like I mean, it's a whole morning event for kids. I think I have 25 to 30 activity tables, games, etc., crafts. Kids go home with a lot, and it's not just for the kids in the team; it's for their siblings, for whoever shows up. So it's a little, it's an event more than just the.
Yeah.
I had another random thing I was going to throw in there. I started buttons this year, 50 per team. And just like the high school kids, it started to take off and the kids were running around and actually talking to each other and asking if they would like a button. And I thought I would pass that along because I know we do it for, you know, everybody does buttons at the high school level and in tech. And I just wanted to bring it down to the little kid level, and they designed their own buttons and it was awesome. I mean, the button displays that were coming out were pretty cool. And I just thought I would share that because it actually started to do what I was hoping, and the kids actually started to interact with each other. So
That's a great idea. Thank you.
We let the kids do button making at our expo as well. And we have some like pre-printed and pre-cut out templates. And then we have like crayons and markers and stickers, and they can decorate them. And then the high school students help them actually like press the lever and snap the buttons together. And they have a lot of fun with that.
So Anna, are you saying that like each team designed their own so that it was like when you're at World Festival, like my team exchanges with your team?
yes, like I basically encourage them to use their t-shirt design, to be honest, because they didn't have a lot of time, or if they wanted to draw one, they could. And we have like 1 to 2 button makers at the Lakeshore building and I let the high schoolers come help them. And I'm like, hey, if you don't have time, I've got high school kids that'll do it. Kind of regretted that a little bit because they waited till the end and we were power buttoning, but it turned out really cute though. But yeah, they did it kind of have it done ahead of time, but you know, it wouldn't be bad to have them there for teams that aren't part of our group that had access to that too. So.
Totally writing this down.
Good idea. Yeah, I know that very popular at the World Festival too, were the keychains and the bookmarks. And actually bookmarks were pretty popular at the challenge tournaments last year as well. So a less maybe a less expensive option is ribbon and bookmarks that are either laminated or just on cardstock or something. But I know that as part of our giveaways, we had to give out something with all the Brookfield bags that we got donated. So we made bookmarks for all the teams. And I know that there was like a 300 pack of bookmarks for like $30, $40 on Amazon. So it ended up being quite economical and not a lot of risk from a breakage of the button maker, which we did have happen to us for the state competition. So another option that might be, useful.
Jen, you mentioned Jeff. You said his expo was at the Franklin Challenge tournament?
Yeah, he had it just for his teams in the library. It was the one that had the fire drill. Was that? Yeah.
On
So-
like one of the coldest days of winter, the fire.
Right. Yes. Yes. So the most optimal time. But he said that, because we were talking about what worked and what didn't work. I mean, the libraries in our buildings were really nice, homey, et cetera. But after some of the children started running on around at the library at Pilgrim Park, I gave him the heads up that he should block off some of the stacks so that the kids wouldn't get quite so rambunctious. But he had activities there, and he had shared some examples of like Lego builds for free Legos and stuff like that. So I've been leveraging those and plan to leverage those next year as well. So I think if there's a suite of activities that other expos have been found to be successful, popular, whatever, maybe that's another sharing opportunity for us, because then we can, steal from each other and not come up with everything originally again, which would be good.
Well, if having a expo Zoom meeting periodically is a value, we can certainly do that. I learned a tremendous amount, so thank you all for sharing what you guys have experienced.
So Jeff just joined as well, and I think, is that Jeff Z? Is that he may have some input here because he is the one we've been talking about with the Franklin.
Yeah.
Jeff Z, is that you?
Maybe not.
Well, no, I didn't want to. He just joined it. I wanted to give him an opportunity to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Craig, just aside, while we're waiting for Jeff, when do you need to know our dates by to make it into whatever infrastructure that you have? And then if we go into the infrastructure that you have, what are the requirements? Because I remember last year that there was this whole, you can't call it an expo, you got to call it a scrimmage because it's not really an expo and stuff like that. So, I followed the whole expo stuff to a T. So it was an expo, but it didn't have a sign up through the BadgerBots portal.
Right.
It had a Google form because it just wasn't available. So I'm just not sure what the requirements, if we do go through the BadgerBots portal, whatever format we all decide to do our things in, what are the constraints or opportunities involved with that?
And that's an excellent question that I'm not prepared to answer.
Okay.
Well, and
I will
it's an
find out.
excellent question, Jen. And like part of our thing is we do all of our organizing through Sign Up Genius, because like going through VIMS is an absolute nightmare,
Right.
Especially at this level when people are so not familiar with that. I mean, it's tough for those of us who even are.
Right.
But
you're talking about for volunteers, though. I think Jen
For
was talking about
volunteers.
registering teams.
and registering teams,
Yeah,
we
both,
use the
really, 'cause
BadgerBots.
like I said, I copied Julie's, so whatever she was using, I was using too, because she was my gold standard. But I mean, it is doing the stuff through the first website has been difficult, right? All the teams are registered through the website and they have to be for the consent and release forms. And I get that and I support
Right.
that. And that makes sense. I'm just saying, like, I know we have to, as challenge teams, sign up through the Badger Bots site. And I remember that potentially being a requirement back in the day when we still had fall expos. I'm just curious how that, if that is a requirement, and what does that mean, really?
Yeah. And to be honest, I'm not even aware that is a requirement at the Explorer level. I have not come across a description of a scrimmage. I've seen scrimmage at the challenge level, but not at Explorer. And maybe I just haven't dug deep enough yet, but it's on my agenda over the summer.
Yeah,
So
I have the soft copy of that because I got it from, I think it was Brian, or maybe one of the Bartiks. So I do have the formal Explorer template with the awards that can be given out and all that stuff. So I've got that because I had to pull that last year and I shared that with.
Right. Well, I do have that, but I'm saying haven't seen the difference between a scrimmage and an expo. Maybe
They made it up. Like I made it up because I was told I couldn't call it an expo. So I had challenge teams communicating to me, hey, we're coming to the scrimmage. I'm like, no, you can't come. There's nobody here for you.
Gotcha.
So that's why I prefer to call it an expo this year, or just not scrimmage, because it confused all the kids that go to Brian's Waukesha scrimmage.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, and look, I'm more interested in getting more kids participating to these events rather than what we call it. Obviously, we have to follow first rules, but we have all the flexibility in the world to do whatever we need to. If you want to use the challenge registration system to sign up teams, we can do that. If you don't want to, it doesn't really matter to me. I think it kind of helped with the LOL tournament in April. We got a couple extra teams that went right in, paid, done. Even that one's not the easiest system to work, but it's better than the first systems, that's for sure.
I also think we maybe need to think about like the fee and think about just whatever it is. If it's 20, 30, whatever it is, maybe everybody should charge the same so that that's not a barrier for teams.
Yep, agreed.
Like from our standpoint, I don't know that we really care. We'll figure out how to fund it if the fee is less. But I think we're just looking for help with t-shirts and dog tags. But I feel like it should be a consistent fee across the board.
My fear is if they raise it, we're going to lose a lot of people because they hear it. And I can say over and over again that we have scholarships for people who can't. We never turn people away. But
well, if it's $20 a team or $30 a team, is that going to turn people away?
There are people who can't. There are people who seriously ask me for glue sticks because they can't buy that for their team. And it maybe it's area dependent, but I know in our area, I really cringe at the lower level in particular, because I do think when you have really little kids, that's probably the brokest part in your life. Let's be real. You got little kids, you're probably not in a real good job yet. My fear is if you make everybody go across the board and people at Pi all of a sudden say, you know what? Yeah, we're going to do $50 or $40, you know what I mean? Like that scares me a little bit. I like having control over our area. I mean, we're up to 31 teams. So I think we're doing something right. My fear is, I don't know what turns people away, and that would be my only fear with that. But I get what you're saying too, because it can be a little.
But I mean, I'm just thinking like, if there's a fee of $20 or $30 per team, you're talking less than $5 a kid. And, maybe the school covers that, or maybe I don't know.
Well, you're seeing for the expo, not like
for the expo
child per the season.
Correct.
I misunderstood. My apologies. I thought you were saying per child per season. This is what we would charge.
Per team.
Just for the expo.
Understood.
It's a pretty minimal fee.
And the other question I would have with that is, do we start that this year without people? Like, I don't know when they start their financial planning.
We're the only ones.
So we've already set our fees for the year. It's more than $30. Because all of my stuff is self-funded and is not funded through the school. We are under the umbrella, but we need our own funding, and the school helps not at all. Sorry, Julie, it's true. So
I'll work on that for you, Jen.
Yeah, I will take your help. But I think that I think I could swing $30 a team by reducing other costs. So I think that I would have more, because I have to fund it all from the same budget, right? All the challenge, all the explorers are in the same budget, and I've already set the fees because I have to have those in Skyward before the semester starts, so I can actually buy stuff. So I think that's another thing to consider, Craig, though, is how to get payment, because remember we had that issue last year with
Right.
paying multiple times out of the school budget, and then the school was like, although now they gave me a choice to write my own checks, so I think it'll go a lot faster. Because I was such a nuisance. But I
That
think
suggestion was duly noted. We still may have a advancing team fee, but it will only be one. It won't
Yeah.
be for each round.
Yeah, but I wonder for the explorers if it makes sense to, I don't even know how you would do that though. How you would bundle it all into one fund. I think we just need to know how much the fee is going to be. If it's going to be a standard across the board, we can plan for it as long as we know what it's going to be.
Yeah, well, to Julie's point, if it was $20 and can you get reimbursed by the school district or do they have to pay it directly?
No, as long as we have a receipt, we can get paid back.
Yeah, so, you know, if the coach or whatever could pay $20 or whatever, or 30, whatever it is, and then get reimbursed. That seems pretty simple to me, but maybe I haven't done it, so I don't know, maybe not. I mean, just doing a bottoms up thought process, you know, there's volunteer expenses, there's the t-shirts, there's the dog tags. Some might have to pay rent. I don't know. So there's, you know, whatever, we all have experienced it. So you build it up. $20, $30 a team just to at least break even, you know, something like that. I don't know. Julie, you've got more experience, you know, running these tournaments, bigger ones too.
Yeah, I mean, it's never been a fundraiser.
Right.
We've always still supplemented it quite heavily with our foundation.
That's what concessions are for. That's where you make the money, right?
Yeah, we don't really actually make money there. We try, but that's okay.
No, I really do think that Waukesha South has it right on the takeaway that like the parents will like their ornaments always go. Like I think that for a fundraiser, something that the parents get the kids are interested in buying, and that seems to be where with the laser cut or the burn wood thing, we buy one every year. I mean, it's part of our Christmas celebration, right? And the other kids did too, even though they're Jewish. So it's like they're all buying these ornaments, right? It doesn't matter. It's because you were there. It's not really expensive to make. You can make a 2x, 3x profit on it. It just depends on how many you want to sell at any one event. But at least in my case, I need to break even. So whatever happens here, I think that we didn't charge last year because I would be charging myself, right? But if there was a standard fee, I'm sure that we could do something with more teams than we did this year because we've been able to accommodate more prizes or whatever it might be that we would give out.
I guess the other thing I'm going to ask, I don't know what the number of Explore teams is right now. And compared to, say, 4 years ago or 6 years ago, I know that the year that Dean came and made his challenge to the first community to get out there and start and mentor junior teams, there was an explosion that year.
Okay.
And even if that's not like a national thing, like at a state level, can we be pushing that as a challenge, like something judges are going to be looking for, like, hey, what did you do to help grow this program at that Explore level? Because I think it took a huge hit with the whole COVID year.
Yeah.
What is the number, Craig?
Last season, it was 120 registered teams. I don't recall off the top of my head how many were tournament ready, which is all waivers signed, registration paid, just everything ready to go. But
So then a third of them are going to Anna's competition, right? Or a fourth of them. So she's taking the lion's share of opportunity here.
Yeah, well, yeah, when I run the spreadsheet, there's Arrow's name, half the page or 2/3 of the page.
Well, you have it sorted in alphabetical order, I think. Arrow and Anna, that's not really
Yeah,
fair to everybody
exactly.
else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying like from like,
Well,
you know,
I can hold on.
we used to have, even at the school that we work at, like, or that I'm working through, 5 or 6 Explore teams. They were down to 2 this year. And in that COVID year, they had 1, like,
Right.
and I just think that we have to focus on rebuilding the program.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, in fact, I get emails through my, first PDP email of, I got a kid who wants to participate. What do I do? And so I do my best to kind of match it up. But if I don't see a team in that particular geography, my suggestion is, well, have you thought about starting a team? So there is interest out there. We have to do a better job to exactly what you're saying, Julie, is let them know we're here. That's part of what we're going to do. And as Steve and I always talk with our Badger Bots team, think big. We want this to, grow at every level. I'm a firm believer that if we get the foundation, which is the Explore and then the Challenge, that's just going to feed right into the high school programs. So
I was just going to say what we kind of do for ours is we just, all summer long, we have all this outreach from all of our high school teams and that. And I'm out there with brochures and we're out there with sign up sheets. And I have 2 kickoff days and they come to it and I sit them by city at the tables. And then those people form teams. They don't know they're going to be coaches till that night, a lot of them, but it works. I'm like, hey, if you want your kids on a team, we need coaches. And then, okay, I guess we could do that,
Yeah.
And that's kind of seriously how we get to the 31. I mean, you've got your set teams that are have been there a couple of years, but a lot of it is new people. And it's got downfalls too. Some of the people don't get along, time slots. And this is where it was interesting too, with your kind of scrolling a little bit, but with your expos, if we can list them and they can't make ours, instead of just dropping out, we could say, hey, there's also an expo on this date if you'd like to attend. I've never said that or even thought about it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thinking going forward too, but.
So
Yeah.
I'm not copying Jen, but I have a 7:30 call. I'm going to leave the recording going. So I will, once you guys are done, I'll close out and we'll get it. Do you want to post this on the BadgerBot YouTube?
Post it where all the other videos.
Okay, gotcha.
Aren't those on YouTube somewhere?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll continue the recording and I'll get it posted ASAP.
All right.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
Jay.
See ya.
So, well, I guess it has been an hour, a very productive one, at least from my perspective. So I think the big takeaway is that, one, we want to put together and publicize a schedule. When we can do that, the game reveal is August 1st, like all the other ones, or at least the challenge, I should say. We're going to be subject to the school calendars, so everybody's going to be held hostage by those schedules for the most part. So, obviously the answer is the sooner the better, but we'll just keep it moving as we know. Probably start a Explore newsletter specifically for Explore. Because there is a lot of overlap with coaches, but there's also some differences. So let's try and separate the two. And then, as I mentioned, maybe we have these, at least over the summer, maybe once a month, just to talk, share ideas, and hopefully get some concrete dates of various events.
Great.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for bringing this together.
You are most welcome. I'm looking forward to it. I loved the event. It was awesome. I was a little nervous. The only 6 teams signed up. I'm like, what are we going to do with 6 teams? It was great. So why not? Let's move it forward. Think big.
Yep. Okay, I need to go as well.
Thank you, Julie. Any other questions? Oh, if anybody wants dog tags, like I said, Explore season, first come, first serve. Email FLLteams@badgerbots.org.
Didn't get that.
Oop,
Could you try?
That's funny. That was what I watched. Anything else? Very good. Thank you all for all your participation and information. It was a very productive hour for me. Hopefully for you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.